Red vs. Blue has been going on for a long time. Too long, some would say. But now season 17 is wrapped up. It was the end of a season, the end of an arc. And so I just wanted to make a video talking about where I think Red vs. Blue should go into the future and what should happen with the franchise. 'Cause why not? First and foremost, I don't think it should end. A lot of people, after having viewed where the show has gone in the most recent arc, have gone under the mindset that the series has run its course. It's out of ideas, and instead of doing completely random shit that hardly makes sense, the series should stop before it digs itself into even more nonsense. And I get where they're coming from, and I don't entirely disagree. I love this franchise, I love this show, but all the greatest things must come to an end in some way, shape, or form. But because Red vs. Blue is what it is, and Bernie has said time and time again that the series will only ever end if people stop watching it, then it'd be a real shame for it to actually end because people are still watching it. But then again, what metric is that under? Because as a business, if only 1,000 people are watching it, then they're probably not gonna continue it. So there's an asterisk under people still watching. But anyway, the point that I'm getting at is that I think the Reds and the Blues stories have run its course for the most part, and it should stop. But I still think the series should continue, just not following the Reds and the Blues. Put them on a shelf. Retire them for the time being until there is truly another story worthy of being told with them. And in the meantime, use the future seasons to explore the Red vs. Blue universe. There are a shit ton of other characters out there that I'm sure the audience would be willing to dedicate their time to and get invested in. One of the reasons I say this is because, as I'm sure most of you know, Bernie isn't writing the show. He hasn't for the past 7 seasons. And so new writers are being tasked with characters who aren't their own. So every time a new writer comes along, the audience has to play this game of, do they understand the character and can they write them in a familiar way? It's not a healthy relationship to have, to be honest. And that's one of the biggest reasons I think the Reds and the Blues should be put on break for a while. One of my favorite aspects about season 15 was Dylan Andrews. I loved her character. I was interested to learn more about her, view whatever shit she got into, but once the Reds and the Blues came along, she became a side character to the side characters. And it was really disappointing. It's clear that when the Reds and the Blues are on screen, they're the ones that get the most attention. Not saying that's a bad thing, but for people like Dylan, it ends up shafting them a bit. By removing the Reds and the Blues from the story, it allows the new writers and the new directors their best chance. The audience isn't worried about, oh, are they staying true to this character or are they messing them up? They get to meet all new people, or familiar people, that tells its own story, not locking everything into that traditional RVB comedy that we know our group of characters to have. Maybe it wants to be scary or super romantic or whatever other genre. And I think Bernie, or whoever's in charge of this franchise, knew that and tried to do it. And the result was season 14. Season 13, I think, had the perfect ending to go out on for the show, and I think they knew that, which is why they made season 14 not a direct follow-up. The problem with season 14, however, is it's fucking weird. They set out to make a season that wasn't canon, yet at the same time, did actually deliver some canon stories. They put things like Death Battle and Immersion in it, which are just different shows altogether. And so the audience had a bad reaction of, why should I care about the stories that aren't canon, despite there actually being some? And that's what I think was its biggest mistake. It just needs to make a canon spin-off following different characters. People loved the triplet story. They thought Felix and Locus's backstory was great, but they wound up only being a few episodes instead of a whole season. Now, I'm not even saying that the spin-off has to be an entirely random set of characters elsewhere in the galaxy. It can, but it doesn't have to. It just shouldn't follow the Reds and the Blues. There are what, maybe like 34 unaccounted for freelancers? Maybe focus on a few of them. Focus on the earlier days of Project Freelancer. You could get cameos from the other agents we know, or just tell the stories of the freelancers we do already know. Maybe a point of view story from the insurrectionist side. I think you understand what I'm getting at. Don't make short, non-canon stories. Dedicate an entire season, or more, to focus on one different one. Don't constantly change the story every few episodes. Tell a season's worth of a character's story. New directors and writers can really play to their strengths with what would essentially be a clean slate. I think the Red vs. Blue universe can be more than just the Reds and the Blues. Now, I'm not saying shelve them forever, but I think if they are to return for another season, Bernie should be the one to do it. If he ever feels like writing another story for these characters, then he totally should. If he truly never wants to write them again, then they don't return. But other than that, I think it'd be beneficial for the franchise and newcomers to the series to focus on the rest of the universe. Anyway guys, so those were my thoughts on where I think the future of RVB should go. If you have any thoughts, then be sure to let me know in the comments below whether you agree or disagree or have ideas of your own. Anything and everything is great. So be sure to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.